Late Night with Seth Meyers has gone from strength to strength over the last few seasons as it skewers the relentless 24-hour news cycle coming out of the current political circus. I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby. I'm here with Emmy-nominated writers and comedy superstars Amber Ruffin and Jenny Hagel. Amber and Jenny, first of all, congratulations on your 4th consecutive Emmy nomination for Variety Series Writing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My first question is really very simple. Does this ever get old?
Not to me. Not to me at all. It's such a dream job. And yeah, I mean, we always kind of joke about it, but also that I get to do a dream job with one of my best friends is truly not how I saw any of this playing out.
Really? Yeah, you could not have predicted this outcome.
I mean,
you guys are going to work together every day and do only the goofiest things you could come up with. And that's your job.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just the best. Every once in a while, we'll be backstage about to go on in the studio. And then I'll turn to Amber and be like, they're paying us to do this. And I think one time I whispered, we should be paralegals by now. Like, I think I always thought, like, I'll goof around in my 20s and try to be a comedian, and then I'm sure I'll be forced to get a grown-up job. But I really fooled everybody and myself.
And then you get the TV Academy just saying, we really like your work. Here's an Emmy nomination for your trouble. Like, seriously? Really? What? But I was actually thinking, if you don't mind, let's be real for a sec. Is there a way that we could handicap the Last Week Tonight writing team somehow? Like, could we get in contact with Putin or maybe remove US Postal Service boxes or something? Because 4 years in a row, come on, it's time to make that leap into the winning circle. What do you think?
We think it's an honor to go there and watch them win every year.
Honestly. They're also really, truly the nicest group of people. So, I mean, that makes it even harder to plot against them. It just turns out you just can only root for them.
They are. A bunch of them are our little buddies. So it's only ever fun.
I went to college with one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, we run into each other once a year at the Emmys and we're like, this is crazy. We used to be nerds in college plays.
And they go, will you hold this for me? And you go, yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm still the nerd.
Hold this for me. I've got to go to the restroom. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I tried to see if I could get some controversy, but you guys are too nice. So that's cool. That's okay. Nice is fine. So look, the show has become more political over the years, particularly in the wake of the 2016, end of the world election. And the show sets itself apart from other late night variety hours because it's, to me, it's more intellectual. It's like a Daily Show or Real Time, although it's super funny and crazy and all that other really good stuff too. Is it any coincidence though that this political stuff has really started to hit over the last 3.5 years? Like, what do you think, Jenny? Are you happy that you get to kind of skewer the Trump administration a little?
I mean, I think I'm happy about it only because it's where we're all at mentally and emotionally anyway. And so I feel like it would be hard, I think, to be living in America at this time under this administration, to read the paper every morning, see those headlines, and then go to work and have to stuff it all down and be like, hi, welcome to Applebee's. Can I lead you to your table? And so I think it would be really hard to work someplace where I had to keep those two parts of myself separate. And so I'm not happy in any way about what's going on and what the political climate is, but I feel lucky that at least that I can process it at work and put those feelings to some kind of use, because I think it would be really exhausting to have to kind of split yourself into like your real self and your work self. But yeah, I feel like sometimes people will be like, oh, this must be great for comedy. And I feel like I just want to be clear, it's not great for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Amber, there's so many of those video bits that you do on the show where you can you've kind of implied or you've even said, this is a really kind of a cathartic experience for you to be able to say stuff and kind of get shit off your chest. And I mean, so that must feel like a silver lining in this kind of dark cloud at the moment, right?
Absolutely. I do think that I don't know, like, I guess I feel the exact same way Jenny does, except much, much stronger. Can you imagine having to be like, welcome to Applebee's, and the guy has on a Trump 2020 shirt, and you go, right this way, sir. I would freaking die. And everywhere, people are doing that. Someone's doing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Someone has to be nice at Applebee's right now.
Lord, I cannot. It's terrifying.
I never
I'll
thought
tell
of
you what, I worked at Applebee's once for 6 weeks. And that was during the Clinton administration, and I didn't last 6 weeks. So, you tell me what it's like at Applebee's right now.
Cupcake. P.S. Cut to after Trump gets reelected, shuts down our show, and then we're both like, welcome to Applebee's.
Yeah, but then Applebee's won't hire us because they saw this interview. They're like, nice try, Ruby Tuesdays is down the road.
Right. So please don't say anything rude about Olive Garden. Like, leave yourself some distance, okay?
We really do. We need to at least leave one bridge unburned.
But it's but it's so true. Like, there's a lot going on, and but you know, your catharsis is ours because we get to watch a show where political correctness is not necessarily your strong suit, which is wonderful. So jokes Seth can't tell. In case anyone who's been living under a rock hasn't seen the show, that's probably one of the best running gags on late night. So let me just explain for people. So this is jokes that are off limits to Seth. It starts with Amber pointing out, you know, black and Jenny pointing out gay, and then saying, okay, well, now we're going to fire up a barrage of jokes and punchlines that demolish that political correctness of the predominantly white, male, cis, male, hetero world of late night, right? That's awesome. But do you guys ever think, okay, maybe we went a bit too far tonight? Or do you just think, no, let's just push it as far as we can go?
I mean, I thought the whole thing was too far. I did not think we were going to make it. When we first did it, when we pitched it, I thought, well, you know, we pitched it and that's fun. I mean, it's funny to us, but I was like, we can't do this on network television. But we did. And they love it, especially when Seth was like, Black women and lesbians are liars. I was like, well, we can't use this. We can't do this.
He said that as a joke.
He said it as a joke.
In rehearsal for the very first one we did, he said it at the end of the rehearsal, and we laughed and laughed. And I thought, well, I thought he just said that to make us laugh in the rehearsal. And then when the cameras rolled and we taped the show, he said it again, and I truly was shocked and couldn't believe it. But it was so fun because it's like, okay, here we go. We're off to the races.
When he said it, the audience went,
and they loved it.
I love it. I was like, whoa. I thought we were going to have to go down to the edit bay, cut that part out.
No.
But I feel like they're right along for the ride with us. I feel like the audience always gets exactly kind of that in-between space that we're trying to get to. Because I think when you were saying, like, do you ever think you've gone too far? When Amber and I are exploring jokes, and, you know, we write a big pile of jokes each month for that segment, and when we're choosing the ones that we want to use, if we ever worry that something's dicey, Amber always says the best thing to me. She always says, are we telling a lie?
Is it a lie?
Yeah.
Is it a lie? Because if it's not a lie, then I don't know how it can be too far. Now, if it's too uncomfortable for you to hear, that's a different conversation. But is it true? Because if it's true, it's true. You know, like if I'm telling a joke about something bad that happens to gay people, and it is a thing that really happens to gay people, then here we go.
That's it. Like, I speak to so many comedians, and we always have a conversation about, like, can you joke about anything? You know, do you have the Ricky Gervais type, do you subscribe to being able to joke about whatever you want to joke about? Or are you more like, no, we can't offend people? I think you toe that line really pretty smartly. But I always just wonder, you're the ones doing it. Does it ever occur to you, shit, you know, this could be the night where cancel culture starts? But hopefully you don't, and you just go there.
Well, I think the question is always the intent, right? Like, because you can say anything. But the question is, what are you trying to do by saying it?
Yeah.
And if your intent is good, then you are fine. If you're trying to do harm, or, you know what I mean, then that's different. But I think that as long as your intent is true, I mean, like, anybody can, like, make a misstep, but as long as your intent is true, you're in the right neighborhood.
Yeah.
I also do think, as us, we're not joking about a third group of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's us. Fine by me. It's probably fine.
Yeah. Are you going to cancel me for burning myself, for saying I don't dress well?
Yeah.
Again, where is the line?
Exactly. Because if you're getting up there and just saying really horrible things about Australians, I'm probably going to get slightly cranky. But, you know, you can say things about your own subset of society, I suppose. And as long as you're not offended by yourself, then we're good. You know, the other thing oh, this, when I was watching some of the videos, like for example, Amber, your recent pieces reflecting on current events, like Amber Ruffin shares what Trump has done for women in Black America, and uh, the flip side is, do you get a lot of feedback on social media from people who maybe don't agree with you politically, and do you find all that noise, does it bother you, or do you just block it out? Like, how do you deal with that?
They haven't found me yet.
Oh, good.
I honestly think they look at a video of mine and they go, a Black lady, yuck. And then they just,
no, thank you. Yeah.
I truly don't think they have the patience to, because I mean, I look like I'm going to say what I'm about to say.
Oh, yeah.
There is no surprise there. So
Yeah.
I don't think I have made it onto their radar, and I may never, and that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
I think that's
off that radar. But like, I just never expected you to go that far. Like, it's so refreshing. It's like you point out all these things that Trump has done, and I just think, man, that is, you could get into serious trouble with the trumpets on some of that stuff. And I just love how you go there. Like, that's, if you don't mind me saying, really brave and good on you. Like, does it feel good that you're able to just say, no, you're actually a horrible person and you've kind of screwed up the country?
It would feel different if it wasn't so true. Like, I think we are, because what we're talking about is what he did, but what he's done is so much worse. Like, he's done stuff we can't even say out loud.
No.
So it's like, we're so deep in the safe zone. I mean, if you really want to get into it, then I can't. You can't put that on television because this man is a crazy monster.
Basically. You know, obviously, like every other late night show, the pandemic shut production down in March, and you guys had to shift to remote working and agilely work out how the hell you're going to tell your stories. And Jenny, I'm just wondering, like, you know, have you given any thought to how this might work, you know, in months and maybe, God help me, years to come, if this pandemic keeps going and we, you don't have a vaccine for 2 years? Have you? What's the world going to look like for comedians in a pandemic?
I mean, I think it'll look like it's looking right now. I think the stuff that will resonate probably most is the stuff that always resonates most, which is stuff that's honest and true, that comes from people's real reactions. And I think, at least, I don't know what your experience has been in Australia, but I feel like in the US, and especially New York, that was the epicenter for a while, everybody's kind of riding this emotional wave, and we're all riding it together.
Yeah.
And so comedians are on the same wave that their audience is on, right? So there's a week where, oh my God, we have to wipe all our surfaces all the time, and I have to make sure that I put disinfectant on all my light switches, is the only thing you're thinking that week. And then there's another week where you're thinking, oh my God, I'm so alone. And there's another week where you're thinking, I should not be drinking this much. And there's another week where you're like, I'm fine, I didn't need all those friends anyway. Like, we're all kind of on, but what I've noticed is that, like, all of my friends and all my colleagues are kind of riding this similar wave at the same time. And so I think as long as you're writing comedy from the place of being honest about where you're at, there is someone else out there who's at the same place who will hear it and feel better for having heard it, and they'll laugh because they'll identify with it and they won't feel as alone. So I think that, like, I can't begin to tell you what format it will take, because I didn't know what Zoom was 5 months ago, and now I'm on it for the third time today. So I feel like I can't even imagine technologically what it will look like, or how we'll all deliver it, or the creative ways we'll find to reach each other. But I think the thing that stays true about it is, if it's coming from an honest, real place, that'll find a home, and it will feel good to people to hear.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you, are you reading my mind? And then I realized, you know, we're all kind of, except for the crazy people, we're all kind of feeling the same thing. Like, there are days where I'm thinking, put that wine glass down, mate. You don't need another glass of wine. You're at home, do some work. I get it. Yeah, we're all feeling that way. And so that's why comedy is so important right now. We're actually all kind of having a laugh together. And you guys are doing a lot to help that. Let's talk about the Amber Ruffin show, because I only found about this the other day, because it's pretty recent news. Amber, you're headlining, and Jenny, you're serving as head writer, I think, an EP, which is fantastic. How did this opportunity come about? Like, this is very exciting.
We had this idea for this show, I feel like a couple years ago, something moved slots somewhere and this became a pitchable idea. So we pitched it to fit a specific slot that was then taken up by, I will never remember.
Yeah.
But then it just sat in our Google Docs until Peacock came along, and they may have asked us for it. And
Yeah, I think they were like, we heard you guys have a show idea.
yeah,
Wow.
so now they're just gonna let us do it.
It's the same thing we said before. We can't believe that people just keep like, do they know what they're paying us to just hang out and be friends?
I cannot believe it. It's great though. I tell you, it's the best thing at the worst time.
It really is.
God, that's a great tagline for the whole show.
If
Right?
this ain't a monkey's paw wish, I don't know what is.
Right. That's going to be the headline of this article that I'm writing on this interview. The best thing at the worst
The
time.
best thing at the worst time, man. That is.
Are you guys going to do like more political stuff? Is it going to be more like crazy kind of skits? Like, what's it going to look like?
We are going to do a lot of topical comedy because I think that's our strong suit, because every once in a while something exciting will happen at like 9:40, and then we have about an hour to write it up in a sketch. We have an hour for an idea to occur to us and then to write it up into a sketch good enough to show Seth, and then we can spend the rest of the day rewriting it, and then we have to perform it that night. So that's what we love. I think that's our favorite thing to do. Also, we're great at it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're. Well, the Emmys think so.
So we really wanted to put that pressure on ourselves to be uber topical, so we're gonna.
Wow.
I think also these are just the times we're in. It's too top of mind for everybody to do
Yeah.
something else. Like if there's so much crazy stuff happening, you can't talk about what's on page 26 of the newspaper.
Things feel so old so fast.
Like in a day.
Yeah, and things feel too. I think the main stories, the main headlines of the news feel too urgent to be like,
Yeah.
okay, but we wrote this sketch about two badgers falling in love.
Which
Although
I
maybe
would
I'll write that
really
down.
actually like to see that. But like Jenny, seriously, like, don't you find this slightly exhausting? Or maybe you don't, because this is the new normal. But remember, like 4 years ago, which feels like 18,000 years ago, when things happened every week, maybe. Now it's every hour. How on earth is that sustainable forever?
Man, it's not. I hope we don't have to do this for much longer. But I think it is what like I was saying before, it is the world that we're in. So I think it is exhausting. And boy, would I love to not have this kind of a pace for the American news cycle. I would love for the world to be relieved of this. But I feel like, right. But for now, like I said before, at least we have a way to process it and a place to put it. And hopefully it provides a little bit of comfort to people who watch. And hopefully it kind of helps distill it down for people who watch it. Because I also think American news culture has become so infused with opinion that sometimes it's hard to get to the core of a story. Like I sometimes think it's almost hard to get a headline and get it objectively without it getting injected with a bunch of bias from all kinds of sides. And sometimes you just want to boil it down. And in a weird way, sometimes comedy, it shouldn't be, but sometimes comedy is the fastest way to get to the heart of a story. Like to have Trump go and do a rally and say a bunch of crazy quotes and say a bunch of awful things about minorities and have a bunch of white people going, is awful. But as soon as he does that, there's 300 million takes immediately on different news networks and in different publications and on different websites and on Twitter saying, well, this is the most important part and this is the most important part. And sometimes it's very clarifying after that to have Amber go on TV and go, this guy is very bad.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to have people be like, well, is this a new gentler Trump? And I don't know about this position. And it's like, no. Let's keep our eye on the ball. This guy's very bad. And I think that in a way, I feel like that is helpful. It feels emotionally clarifying. And so I think we'll do it as long as we need to. Oh man, it would be nice to not have to do it anymore. Help us, Rob. Help us.
Do it from down there.
Do something for God's sake. Look, this brings me to this because I think that I'm a pretty enlightened guy. Maybe I'm educated. I'm an outsider. I'm not American, but I understand the culture. I've been there thousands of times. But when I saw Amber's, the opening monologue for a week where you told some stories from your past or when you were a teenager, when you're skipping down a lane and so forth. Like, this is no bullshit. This is serious. I was really moved by that. I hope desperately that people get to see those videos and understand from your subjective perspective how it feels to be African American in America with law enforcement. And I'm just wondering, like, how did you actually feel about telling those stories? Like, did it feel cathartic?
How did it feel? I don't know. I mean, it certainly felt strange to me because those stories have happened to you. And first of all, that wasn't all when I was a teenager. These stories are fresh, baby.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. This is now. But I did feel like, oh my God, when you look at these stories all together, it's crazy. But when they happen to you in your life, they stay in that year and you never drag them out together and present them like that. And to look at that was like, oh, Lord. Because that, again, was not even all of the stories.
No.
That was just a sampling of my interactions with cops. But people really were like, I cannot believe this is a real thing.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, I mean, there is no good way to, like, either you didn't care or you didn't believe people when they were like, this is happening. Like, there is no good part, but great, now, that's great. But it was like people were saying a lot, tweeting at me and saying, I had no idea.
No.
I just was like, I didn't know that this was going on. And I couldn't believe it.
And yeah, it makes some of us feel monocultural or stupid, or we just don't even, like, when you say things like, this is how I die, and when you say you need to vote and you got tears in your eyes, I'm just like, I can't fucking believe this is happening. Like, honestly, that was my reaction. Anyway, that's just me.
Real.
Yeah. So
it's sad, but it's not sad. Like, my little sadness isn't anything like, I have old Black parents. So, my dad can come up to me and be like, oh my God, this one time we went into this diner and we sat down and we ordered some food and everyone got up and said, if you don't get out of here, we'll murder you. And so we got up and we, if he can just be like, well, you'll never believe this stuff. So then I always feel like they're small, nothing stories. But when you see them and you stop and you think about it, it's huge, it's terrible. And people have to carry this stuff around. So I do think that was like a million things. But one of the things it was just like an eye-opener to be like, oh, you can, if you are fine with me saying this, then friggin', I'm sorry, the Amber Ruffin show got no rules.
Yeah.
You fine with that? Whoa.
I feel like, Amber, you have that experience a lot, though, where you'll say, like, oh, I didn't know, I pitched this assuming it wouldn't go. And now it has gone, so now the line has moved. Now I feel like now I understand a little bit more of what people are open to hearing and what I have room to do.
Yeah.
And I think that has been cool for me to watch over time, of watching you kind of like expand the pieces of you feel like you can share and the muscles you feel like you can, the comedic muscles you feel like you can flex.
I really don't feel like I'm doing good comedy unless I feel like I'm in a little bit of danger. I want to be a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit scared, or else who cares?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just talking about Badgers in Love.
That's
it. Right.
Badgers in Love, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm cool with it, but I'd like to see comedians being a little vulnerable and real and human, and that's exactly what you guys do. Thank you. Good luck at the Emmys. I hope to see more of your work. I'm looking forward to the Amber Ruffin Show. Thanks, guys.
Hey, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.